Star Trek Starfleet Academy, Season 1, Episode 8. They say all the world's a stage. Thank you, Willie Shakespeare. But you know, the more the years you have in, the more all the acts on that stage will get to you. Hey, it is Dr. Trek, Larry Nemecek, coming at you here from the heart of Trekland and letting the dust settle just a bit on all these recent Trek headlines and new episodes. So, instead of just another hot take or a quick take, you get a second opinion from Dr. Trek. Hey, look, I have been writing, editing, interviewing, witnessing, hosting, archiving, dot connecting, and yes, fanning Star Trek for a while now. And I just want to say, The Life of the Stars, our title, as in the names in the billing. Well, yes, Tilly's back, and so is Terima. Turns out that Red, since last seen on Discovery, has indeed been out with the cadets. She's just been out in the boonies beta with the third years. Meanwhile, this story is finally one for the Doctor, but also Sam out of the blue, as well as a healing tale for Terima. Now, along the way, there's been more than one plot moment paid off, though. By the time we look at the whole cast, the whole story, almost all of the cadets have an arc here, continuing where they've been, even just since last week. Even Occam and theater therapy, that's a new one. This theater kid was intrigued. All right, big things, little things. Big thing. Well, I asked for more cask. I put out my questions, and we got a big answer here, as well as a reunion with Orson, as you Mork fans well know. So, cask is in an odd time differential, or an extreme gravitational gradient here. 3 days on Earth is 5 years on cask. Most of all, the makers went to cask from another place after the organics that made them in the other place died out, not left, as we heard earlier. A little more succinct, a little more detailed. And did the makers, make it? I mean, this space vessel that we see out the shuttle window, the environment, the outside looks like some kind of lopsided asymmetrical gaming die. We'll see your simple geometric cube and sphere, Borg, and raise you. So, we're at 209 days since Sam's arrival at the Academy and the fall term start. But she was a 200-year-old project of the cask? So no, the makers don't just crank these out like the Changelings 1000 that were sent out on DS9. No, Sam was a unique project. Long term. Yeah. No wonder that title, Emissary, came into play. A lot of focus, a lot of weight on her. Little things. I thought I was flashing back to Picard there with the realization that once again, even a hollow body container for Sam's programming could maybe be considered a golem. And did you notice the Doctor does refer to recent advances in Federation AI medical tech? Now, look, that was really more of a convenience for us, recent for us, the audience, but not for 800 years after the flower of Soong life prolongation research that we saw in Picard. Which Soong? Oh, just pick one. Big thing, Our Town. Yes, an American classic. Pulitzer Prize winner for drama, 1938. And Thornton Wilder's big hit, alongside his other play, The Skin of Our Teeth, and the novel The Bridge at San Luis Rey. Both also Pulitzer honorees. What a longevity. And yet, if you're sloppy or you've forgotten most of it from sophomore English lit, you might think of Our Town as old and quaint and dated and safe. I mean, 1938, come on, right? But it comes alive here, packs a punch. It's one more revival in a long string of them already. We'll get back to Our Town, you betcha. Little thing. So Tilly was brought in as a specialist, as a counselor, and her whole drama class was a special event for what? The cadets that were most affected by the Miyazaki trauma? But did you notice Not just our speakers, but true to form, we have 3 unnamed but not unfamiliar atmosphere actor cadets also there. On the periphery, well, this proves the old Star Trek law. If you have no lines, stay in the corners. Little thing, these Tears of Crisari in the black bottle. Now, if that is the right spelling and it's in the same world as that of Ruffno and the other independent freighter captains that often came calling it DS9 back in the day, well, it's nice to know that they have a distillery culture. The Tears of Crisari, huh? Launched into barrels of native wood, but launched into orbit, where they age for a century. Yes, I'd say that's potent. Big thing. I've already wondered, prior to this week, exactly what was, or how much, was Sam's enrollment and awareness on the part of Starfleet and Federation by her presence here at the Academy. And at the signs of her potential breakdown and their options pending, the doctor here says there's no guarantee they'll let her return if she heads back to Cask. So did he know, or did he have an inkling from her file, or by less formal means? I mean, that whole relationship and prearranged agreement for the special case that Sam is, it's still elusive. But we'll get there. And yet I have one question. So, the disaster mock battle demo, today's class in tactics and strategy, was that on the Athena bridge or just some kind of a holosim? I know we don't have dedicated holospaces, but holodecks, holosuites, but they can conjure them up just about anywhere, right? Either way, yay, Reno, the center seat for you. Or is this a case of those who can't do, teach? Oh, favorite lines. And yes, I'm so glad they made time for this moment. This scene, these 3, we're the women that time forgot. And what are we having? Something with a proof. But wow, I gotta say, best of show. Don't be the captain who tears down. Be the captain who lifts up. Wow. How I feel about the world and fandom right now. Okay, it's a sci-fi drama tie. Sam and the Doctor lived 17 years and 2 Earth weeks. They're not the only ones. But hey, who's on the personnel roster this week? Look, there's no Vance, there's no Kelrick, there's no Braca, or even Lura. The stakes are back to the personal, not the galactic. And yet they pack just as big a wallop. Well, we've got Reno here with more of those surprisingly and maybe the most heartfelt moments of hers for the season yet. But hey, welcome, Tilly, Sylvia Tilly. Yes, she's been off in the boonies she's doing theater therapy. She says 8 of our 10 cadets ask why theater, which tells me, unless she's really, really tongue-in-cheek, she's done this before. She's a known specialist now over the last few years. Well, it's obvious from what we see here. She's certainly faced down painfully resistant, hurt cadets before. Her scene with all of the gang here, climaxing with her sure-footed handling of Terima, most of all. It was excellent. I actually can't wait to hear more from real-life therapists, maybe starting with my old podmate, Dr. Ali from Life Support Live, about the moves we see in play here. Moves that, as Tilly says, are all about having therapy disguised as anything but. But apart from all that, how can you be sentimental for Discovery already? But yes, I was actually smiling when Reno bumped her a little and called her red. And she got her too as they parted the camera. Did you notice that? I guess it's true. They all do get better after 5 or 10 years. Now, I want to say I appreciated that battle simulation exercise. It's a step ahead of a Kobayashi Maru, if you will, at least in intensity. Just a straight-ahead battle crisis test of teamwork. Because this episode would go so soft in a minute, even with the Miyazaki debacle hanging over. This was just a key moment, just to answer anybody out there in fandom who would watch this and say, theater therapy? Do these guys ever do any real warping and shooting? Well, yes, they do. Apparently badly. Well, what it is they need a reset. So we get Chirima's return as expected. We get Sam's disintegration and return, which was not expected, along with a close-up on the cask. And even with all that, there was room for this to still be the Doctor's season spotlight. Doctor's personal log. A long life of sadness. Yeah, I heard that and I thought, aha, here we go. We're going to get to all the losses that he's carried, just of all the mortal organics that he's known, from Voyager to the Protostar and all the centuries beyond that. All of the folks, the friends, the colleagues that he has lost while he has passed on and aged without them. This beautiful sunup alone, it felt like a real tone and start to what that was all going to mean something. And yet it went down a different path. But one that we may have been looking for. The Doctor finally opens up that abrupt raw nerve that he's been hinting at all season long, starting back with the pilot. It all refers to Bell and his Hollow family from the season 3 episode of Voyager, Real Life. Now, that was a reference I wasn't expecting, but it finally unlocks this running discomfort that he's shown. It really connecting with the cadets, more than just, lecturing, healing, or singing at them, especially with Sam. I mean, I'm trying to recall Robert having a more wrenching, emotive scene, aside from Bell's death, all through Voyager. And for the life of me, I can't, back in the day. What's more now, the weight of all these centuries is on him, and he's carrying that wound, and he's carrying that fear. I mean, what a blow for any actor who's unwilling to reconsider a role like this again. What a bravo moment for Robert to bring this off, for the courage to commit to it, and to have this moment to shine again. And yes, this moment, this scene, this bearing of soul, it carries 10 times the gravitas of that 1997 moment. Well, Robert has more to access as an actor, as a human. The Doctor as a character has more to access and bring to it. And we're all the winners for it. Look, in an episode all about dramatic life from our town being real for its actors and cadets, here it is on the meta level. I even thought back to Cass, of all things, and to how, left alone, that original EMH program would never have advanced to Bell's tragedy, much less Sam's. And yes, even though the prior Bell was just a program, Sam was an embodied one that carried far more weight to far more people. But hey, who knew that we'd have not one but 2 callbacks to Voyager? The Doctor himself references Gotana from Blink of an Eye, a.k.a. Kelamane's planet, a.k.a. the weird planet displaced in time, according to young Naomi Wildman. Come on, you remember. It was the planet where the surface whizzed by faster than relative time. 1 hour on that planet passed for every 1.3 seconds aboard Voyager. And the people there advanced in time as Voyager was stuck in orbit trying to get away. The people wound up, centuries passing, worshiping the mystery starship star in their sky until they could finally get away. Although I've got to say, Gotana was the partial name of the astronaut Gotana Retz, who eventually came to orbit in their young space program. He was the John Glenn who tried to reach out and make contact with Janeway's crew and dispel the mystery, object or God. Gotana, huh? For the planet? Okay. Hindsight, 800 years. But in this case, rather than having 3 years as an out-of-phase visitor, and apparently having a young son who's never been referenced again, the Doctor here had 17 Earth relative years, raising Sam. This was not a short-term blip it on and off daughter in a holosuite program here. No. Will that experience add to his bedside manner, if not his classroom personality? Well, you have to think so. And apparently, for how long he's been this grumpus, and how he too now can join the list of the liberated, thanks to this chain of events from this horrible disaster. Talk about the ripple effects. And yet, here's Sam. Yes. I mean, really, it's good to see that her hollow body glitch was not just some truncated plot that they ran out of time for last episode, as I was worried, but it was an actual setup with a payoff here. And how? They, the makers, just rebuilt Sam's processing capacity and programming. Now it can hold the experience, and she can add not just a childhood, but the chips to hold it. I mean, it's interesting that the Doctor himself, in his younger days on Voyager, likewise was never intended to be left running full time, let alone go on missions or sing. And he had more than one run-in with operating far beyond the parameters and the memory capacity that he was designed for as just an emergency AI, right? Oh yes, the plots of the week, and they found ways to overcome them and reroute them, sometimes with a little bit of tragedy. Now, Sam has been running for far less than he was, and yet it's just only that her makers didn't anticipate needing capacity for those years. Didn't think she'd need that. I'm thinking it's not unlike the Telosians being unable to rebuild Vina precisely way back in the cage, despite any mission crash records that they could find. They just didn't get it, that it would be needed. But here, we wind up with an ending that leaves her not dead and not even erased. So yay, but she's going to carry the memories, if I heard this correct, of both the cadet light of the past few months, as well as the 17 years of accelerated childhood life that we've barely saw in flashbacks for a moment or two. So she gets to toggle back and forth between both tracks. I mean, will it all play out smoothly? Does she make the choice? Does it just happen? My head is spinning. But with all that to look forward to in the last 2 episodes of the season, and we know season 2, here it is. Her real function in the story is to trigger the Doctor's long emotional freeze thaw. It's almost as much as this hidden fact that Sam and Genesis were roomies. Meanwhile, we've got Jaden and no Kyle. But Jaden is that guy who refuses to get fussy about a common cold and just ignores it. Writing it out? Klingon stoicism? Okay. But of course, Klingon sneezes and projectiles are 5 times bigger than anybody else's. Of course. And there's room for Caleb in this plot, you betcha. All these scenes of him walking on eggshells around Terima, caring for her, but letting her have her space, kidding around, trying to bring her out, having some tender moments, and then what amounts to her first therapy scene in his caring but untrained hands, right? She warms up, he trusts her more, then she pulls back, even as he realizes he's got to protect her in her vulnerable state after she's drank too much. And he doesn't take advantage, and that only makes her sadder and angrier. So Terima's back. She has a new psionic inhibitor. It's one that comes with a higher risk if she removes it again. The Force is the word she's grappling with, trying to describe her feelings, even as she's doing such a bad job at it. But she's spewing this about seeing herself as a human grenade. Are you scared of the head-melting girl? What a lot to carry around. So her network of mirror neurons would not survive that again, that kind of a blast. She exists in an intricate balance. So she's been forced to go into science or research. She can't have the War College as an option, that it's too command violency, the training is. But really, by the time of her penultimate speech, when she finally vomits all this up, did we realize that she was really that driven to choose the War College? We knew nominally it was about to have more control. But she's right. She'd been there for a semester. She had the friends. Was she feeling the pressure to be there as the daughter of a president? But then is Caleb's back off in concern for her? No one wants to touch me? Is that how it hits her? He's trying to care, and she takes it that way, the wrong way. I mean, just like Sam, she has been carrying around a lot of baggage that is big time and loaded here, leaving us no questions. But also, that's where recovery starts. Recovery begins. Oh, and we are vindicated thanks to Terima. We did not dream up those sparks between Genesis and Caleb, even as they both maintained the high road and both concerned for Terina. I mean, but at least thank God it's out there in the open and not some kind of soap opera cudgel that you would have gotten on the actual 90210 back in the day. No, this really isn't Aaron Spelling in charge of this show. So yes, thank Kalis for the 30-year wait for an Academy series. And here we are at the top. Captain Ake. I don't know, her biggest job in this role, aside from empathy, is just riding the rails, holding it all together. When to let up on the reins and when to tighten up. when to judge, nudging the spitting plates on the rods, you know? And I guess when the going gets tough, the tough call in for specialists like Sylvia Tilly. That's not a line I ever thought I'd hear myself say. But it all does make me realize, even with the wildly inconsistent development of Discovery, the series, how far Tilly came in her own path. From the insecure cadet to the one who takes off with the cadets at the end. Yeah. Yes. Remember that prescient cadet episode from season 5? Set tons of wagging for how this series Academy would or would not play out? Yeah. And okay, kind of takes the Kirk lead here, or I don't care, pick your captain, on talking to the non-corporeal alien, just trying to say hello and make a case and ask the right questions without screwing everything up, all at once. But second pass, I gotta say, props here most of all to Ake, to Holly's moments with the Doctor, with Bob Picardo. Now, these characters, they're the 2 longest lived of the crew. He, remember, twice as long as she, despite her lanthanite. She's a young lanthanite, and still, 400 years, 800 years. And yet he says, the only thing that allows me to bear my infinity is not having to love anyone. You mean not having to love anyone again? You are correct. I am a coward. No more than me. And you have that exchange through it all. He never calls her out, and she never boasts about the fact of the loss of her son and how she moved forward. Still trying to find heart, enough heart to share with her young students on Bajor, remember? And even more now, her dozens of new young adult charges. Especially Caleb. So, let's wrap this up. What have we got here? We are 8 episodes in, and the series is still finding new tones to play with. This is a soft-spoken, but gut-wrenching. This episode really goes to places I did not expect or see coming. Did you get the hint that I was really affected by it? Maybe you were too. And they're still finding ways to get people together for the first time, actually. Like that scene between Terima and Sam. Oh, and of course, yes, you had to have the Reno-Tilly reunion, even more than once, kiddo. Now, when you see Chiwetel Ejiofor's name back in the above-the-line opening credits, it was a giveaway that we'd be seeing Orson of Kask again. That's my name, not theirs. Nanu Nanu. Well, it makes sense, given that the Oscar nominee would want to have at least 2 appearances here, even an amorphous one. I was really holding out, though, after series acclamation Mill in his debut, that we would see him back in a physical form next time. But here, well, no. But that's the motif for Kask, and the motif for Sam's holographic body construct. So who brought us this one? This winner? Well, 2 veterans, the co-writers. So Guy Violo, again, is the Hollywood veteran writer, producer, showrunner here, who has sole series creator credit for Academy, only the first time since Gene himself on TOS and TNG. She's an executive producer, but not serving as showrunner. But she's back here on her 3rd script after the pilot and the Klingon opus Vox in Excelso. Co-writer with her for this one is Jane Maggs, a Canadian actress, writer, and producer. She's a co-EP here, co-wrote Beta Test, the 2nd episode. And before that, her combo credits include 20-something episodes across 2 seasons of Anne with an E. And before coming in as supervising producer for the last 2 seasons of Picard and writing 5 there, including the acclaimed 17 Seconds of season 3 and Dominion. Our director, again, following the 2-episode block for each director, here on her 2nd is Andy Armaganian. This is her 6th Trek credit, though, following Cozine last week. On Disco, she had season 4's Rubicon, season 5's Janal, and then on Strange New, she had Lift Us Up Where Suffering Cannot Reach, season 1, and then season 3's Through the Lens of Time. She'd had 9 back on the CW Stargirl and a lot of other one-offs. So look, this proves it's a lot of moving parts that make up a production, an episode, a movie. And to me, the difference here between Andy's Cozine last week, which I was not that impressed by, I thought it was a little bit of a well-made, but nowhere near the level of intensity and impact that the three prior shows differently had. And that now her opus here on the life of the stars seems to be back on that level. The difference between this week and last week is like, well, night and day. But props to you for this creation. So overall, in this piece, all the cadets, more featured, less featured, we're getting all their points of view. It's all coming out as they work through the play via their own recent difficulties. It's shining a light. It's a brilliant tool to get into their minds at a pivot point like this, right? Our town is letting each of them do that, whether they realize it or not. So the black and white, stark noir setting here, it's a spare for the film medium as the Our Town stage setting was for live theater. So that means the doctor's simple, straight-to-camera monologue of grief and soul-bearing revelation, it turns out to be as stark as the minimalist old town, old-school stage setting on a live stage. Here and throughout its production history, right? Oh, and can we have a shout-out to the audio effects team? Did you notice that organic, bubbly, streamy background noise in the still of the cask environment, whatever that was? It was unearthly and alien, and yet comforting and reassuring at the same time. It was just enough to be there. I hope you had an audio system where you could detect it. Now, I was not expecting Thornton Wilder to not only lend weight to Terima as Emily Gibbs in his play, but even the thoughts of living for others instead of one's own, outlook, giving power to what Derham just went through last week, and walking away from that arranged marriage and a planned life versus taking on an evolved mindset and an evolved destiny. In fact, I'm going to say this. Derham did not have a big role here, but I'm going to say that one sentence in reaction to the play critique that the class went through, his one statement, for me, carried more power than the whole original Cozine episode. I'm serious. So, here's Terima, realizing that it's just fine to have these whipsaws of changing moments. She's not crazy girl. She's not melty brain girl. In fact, she should embrace them because, per Mr. Wilder, the moments are what are raw and real, and we gloss over them at our own peril and loss. There is no expectation to get married and be happy, but they leave it too long before saying what they want, who they really want. Yeah, some of Thornton Wilder's words here that are so part of this real life experiment. Oh, Tilly's the genius. So listen, as you watch this episode or rewatch it, get out the Our Town text. I'm sure that's what the writers would love to hear happening. Get out the Our Town text and compare it. They weave in and out of Wilder's text, like the stars, crisscrossing across their old journeys across the sky. But here's one in particular. Goodbye to clocks ticking and Mama's sunflowers, and food and coffee, and new iron dresses and hot baths, and sleeping and waking up. And it segues right into loving that boy and a stupid, ugly pillow from the sweetest girl we ever knew. I can't look at everything hard enough. Just masterful. Yes, it's a simple, minimalist play full of human angst. And the prophets, this would make a great sample. Why didn't Ben Sisko haul out our town trying to talk to the prophets? Or maybe the prophets should have hauled out Our Town talking to Ben Sisko. There's fantasy elements here. Yes, the recently deceased coming back to learn a life lesson before their death and to learn it for us. This is a winning mashup of American 20th century drama with sci-fi time dilation. And that brings us right back to the pathos of Picard in Inner Light, O'Brien in the alien jail cell, and yes, the Doctor on whatever his planet was. Look, Trek is no stranger to that kind of a plot device. But this, unlike those, this is a time dilation story with joy. Healing, even. And that's the impact. Sam's case is an unexpected team teacher to Tilly's lesson plans. This class, this recovering trauma class, at least it's this leadership gang. If If that's, apart from the practicality of the leads of the show, all of them are changed here. My God, I think Occam might be the most changed of all. Sam, his maybe more than friend, and then his sister, they're both flirting with death, or at least life-altering shell shocks. And did you see him? Did you see him take lead, take command? His whole voice, body changed. It is actually affecting him. Occam, the late joining mascot-wearing flaky spook of the group. He's the one, amidst those broken spirits at the end, who is inspired to embrace the stage and finish the story and win everybody else over in doing that. And you can see that his bearing is never going to be the same again as for all of them. Look, I did not expect this. We've had some great episodes this season. I've laid out my critiques, but I've generally enjoyed this series, right? Now, this is episode 8 out of 10. I do get the feeling that we've kind of wrapped a lot of the threads and the sub-threads here in a quiet, reflective way. Just in time for a good old-fashioned 2-part villain's return and season finale. But this episode, wow. Talk about weaving threads together and showing you a new pattern, a new tapestry. I got to tell you, especially after that, I'm sorry, not as impressive outing in intensity last week with Kozine, Tarima's entrance at the end, a triumphant comeback, giving us Emily's last line from Our Town, enjoying life's mundanities for the last time, and what that meant for her. It got me. Yes. Tears here. Old fart me. And maybe why, as I actually reflected on this, what this piece of art meant for me, which is what art and entertainment is supposed to do, I can't recall that ever happening aside from maybe the tearjerker final moments on DS9, or the first time Voyager made direct contact with Barclay and Starfleet, or Kirk's most human eulogy for Spock in Wrath of Khan. In fact, I teared up reading the novel the day before I saw it in theater. Teared up and just, verklempt. But why? Is it because that since all those years, I too have seen a few more stars crisscross against the sky? Or that I have Cadet Alice and grandchildren and nieces and nephews and so many friends back home and new home of 30 years. But yes, a live life of tragedies and triumphs. And that's why Our Town in Great Bird of the Galaxy garb can pack a punch. Huh. Yeah. Well, look, may we each react with the life of the stars in our own way, as always. But I do know this. At the episode's final blackout, with that bridge lit like an Our Town spotlight moment, I felt like Sam, the newbie in theater class. I wanted to stand up and applaud, even if I was all alone here watching it, the only one doing it. Gotta say, bravo, Starfleet Academy. Oh, one more thing. So Sam is in the shuttle, working up a little bit of a fit before reaching Cask until she's calmed down. But she asks the doctor if he's ever been in love. Now, I know how he would have answered. I know how he should have answered. Denarapel, the Vidian. And I wanted to at least let him try. I know that comes later. He opens himself up, but I wish she'd ask that question again later. Oh, all this, and we still don't know what series acclamation mill actually refers to. Okay, I'll stop harping and just sign off on this second opinion. Wow. What did you think? Were you as moved as I was, even after the range of great tones and episodes we've had this season? I can critique, and I have, this episode. There's moments, but I can't lie. It packed a wallop. It did. I'd love to hear your comments on this one. Please like and subscribe while you're at it, would you? Boost the signal. I dare you to subscribe for some Star Trek sanity. Most of all, if you crave more Dr. Trek and the Trekland point of view, I invite you. Check out every pod, live stream, and experience that we offer, like Trekland Tuesdays Live every Tuesday, 1 p.m. Pacific, Yes, around the world. Cadet Alice and Dr. Trek Watch Prodigy. We've got the second season coming soon. And Portal 47, our backstage pass to more in-depth Trek with all the creative guests you never get to hear from. It's like a mini-con all year long. But you're still in the center seat wherever you are. And of course, Trekland Trek's day tours. And this year, in cahoots with GeekNationTours.com, the big, first time in a decade, multi-day Star Trek's hashtag LA to Vegas location tour the week before the Vegas Con. Special this year, check it out. Look, all of that's there and more at LarryNemecek.com. Take a look, would you? Meanwhile, we'll see you back here next week. Until then, Trek well, everybody.